right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboys fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, guys, any...
This is Northeast Streaming Sports.
Hello, everyone out there, and welcome to another edition of NESSP Sports with your host, Sonia Pearson. I'm joined tonight with the one, the only Jet Man, CJ, the Painkiller D. Simone. Hi, CJ. Thank you so much for joining me on this wonderful Tuesday evening. How are you?
I am well. It is an honor and a privilege for me to be on your show this evening, and I thank you for the invite. And I hope we can do this again in the future. We've got to get you on my show pretty soon.
Yes. Then CJ, I'm just going to tell our audience a little bit about you. I'm so excited, and I definitely will love to come on your show and talk football, talk sports. That's what we do here. Now, CJ has been doing this since 2013. He has a podcast, formerly the CNC Football Factory, now Jets Factory, and he is on. Tell us, CJ, when you're on this nice platform, NESSP Sports.
All right. Well, I am the host of, as you can see right down on the bottom there, I'm the host of a show called Weapons Hot Mission Briefs. We air every Saturday night from 8 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And we talk nothing but New York Jets football, and you get my views and opinion, unadulterated, unfiltered, and uncensored.
And that's absolutely awesome. And you and I can kind of identify because you are a Floridian now, a New York transplant, and I am in North Carolinian, and I'm a Atlanta now transplant for about the same amount of time. I think you said you've been here since 2005. I've been here since 2002. So yeah, just about 2-3 years more than you. So let's get ready to give these fans what they're here for. Good evening, everyone. Please share this stream. Please subscribe on YouTube and follow. And also make sure you check out CJ as well. Just put your little information here, and we'll drop his link later on in this presentation so you can get football all the time. Now, this is a very busy time of year, CJ. This is the week 18 wrap up, the seasonal finale, lots of NFL news. But first, let's talk about that show or show less last night, the college football championship game, Michigan versus Washington. I was pulling for Washington, but in my heart and my mind, I knew Jim Harbaugh would pull it out. What say ye?
Well, I flipped back. Full disclosure, I flipped back and forth between that and the New York Rangers versus the Vancouver Canucks, which ended up turning out to be just a mess of a hockey game, but that's for another show. I was happy that Michigan won. I'm also very happy for Jim Harbaugh because he finally got the monkey off his back. He's got a national championship. Most of all, he did it with his alma mater. So that's a huge feather in his cap. I know that he's been under fire and much maligned, and a lot of people were calling for his job not too long ago. But now he gets to sit on top of the world, and he gets to say, hey, look what I've accomplished. So also transitioning a little bit to the NFL teams with a head coaching opportunity or a head coaching opening now after, Black Monday has come and gone already. They are definitely going to be keeping their eyes out on not only Jim Harbaugh and his availability to come back to the NFL, but also one Michael Penix Jr., who suffered another injury last night, to add to the laundry list of injuries that he's already added. So some people may say that his stock took a hit last night. What say you?
Michael Penix Jr. had definitely showed himself to be such an agile and physical person, playing through numerous injuries throughout the season. It was disclosed towards the end and possibly even throughout that he had 4 previous injuries almost to every quadrant of his body. Last night it showed there was a down in which he actually looked injured, even though he was not part of the tackle. And I think that in the draft, his draft stock is going to definitely take a hit. Let's back up just a little bit to talk about Michigan, and then we're going to wrap in Michael Penix and then tie all that in, because you're right, CJ. A lot of teams right now have their eye on Harbaugh returning to the league. But what's so funny, the first thing that Harbaugh said when he came out to do his post conference was, "We're innocent. We're innocent." So to think about, he's not talking about the long-awaited national title that they had, but he's talking about all the off-field drama that has surrounded this team throughout the entire season, with back-to-back suspensions that he sustained. And in fact, he has now got a coaching bonus, $3 million, by far the largest single season haul since the tracking of this back in 2019. He picked up $1 million for their win on last night after getting a $500,000 for the team playing in the Big Ten Conference Championship game, and another $1 million for winning the Big Ten title, and another $500,000 for being selected to play in the CFP semifinals. Now, he claimed $2.225 million in 2021 and redirected $1.5 million of his bonus money to members of the Michigan's athletic department who had to take pay cuts due to the pandemic. Now, we don't know whether or not Michigan was supposedly the best team last night, but there were a lot of comparisons to J.J. McCarthy and Tom Brady. Jim Harbaugh was definitely so full of hyperbole on a regular basis that sometimes he would say really crazy things about it just to see if people would notice things. But it's definitely a conversation piece to know that Tom Brady, being a Michigan alum, and now Jim Harbaugh saying that J.J. McCarthy is the greatest quarterback that he's seen in Michigan history, is definitely saying a lot. Now, like you talked about, there was a lot of stuff going on with the injuries that basically popped up with across the board as far as points here, points there. It looked like that Washington was going to hang in there with Michigan for quite a while until they were not. And so when you look at the breakdown, the first quarter, the Huskies got on the board with 3. Wolverines had 14. They ran up the scoreboard right away. And we've seen Michigan do this before. In the second quarter, the Huskies seemed to want to get back in it. They scored 7 while the Wolverines only scored 3. So they were still staying in this game after the half. Tale of two different halves. We always hear that. 3 points only by the Huskies. Wolverines only 3. Fourth quarter, Wolverines step on the gas to accelerate another 14 points and claim the victory 34-13. And congratulations to Michigan, to all of these fans out there, to Jim Harbaugh. It's just something about knowing you've been through a little bit of drama to come back and win the title. So congratulations to them. We've talked about Harbaugh and the NFL. Let's scale on over and join that in right now with these firings. Then we're going to do a recap of just what's going on with the playoff contentions. But it's so much to talk about in this 1 hour we have, CJ. But I'm glad you're here to help me out. What do you think the odds are Jim Harbaugh comes back to the NFL?
I don't think he does. I really don't. I think that with him winning the national championship, there has to be something within him that he probably says, I want to prove that this isn't a fluke. That I want to put he's already put his stamp on the program, which is a good thing. But now I think what he wants to build is he wants to build a legacy. And the reason why he wants to build a legacy is, think about it, right? He was head coach of the 49ers, took the 49ers to a Super Bowl, lost to his brother in the Ravens. All right. After that, what happened? Things in San Francisco started falling apart. So I think for him, he probably remembers that. And he probably is saying to himself, what kind of legacy do I want to leave behind? What do I want people to remember me for? And that's why it wouldn't shock me if he did, but I don't think he will. I think it would have to be such a grandiose offer that would be like Martin Scorsese and The Godfather coming out and saying, "We're going to make you an offer we can't refuse." It's going to be one of those, and I just don't see it. I think he would be a great fit for a couple of NFL programs. I think that he would probably do a great job. I mean, he did a great job in San Francisco with the talent they had there. So, yeah, I mean, it's if you want to leave it open in a vacuum, I would say it's still a 50-50 chance that he'll end up staying in college or he may end up going to the NFL. But I personally think he'll stay in college.
Yeah, and I know that with those numbers we just talked about, he's received quite a few bonuses. And the rumor mill was that Michigan did not want him to go even prior to this championship game, that they were willing to basically empty the bank to keep him at Michigan. That team loves him. He clearly went all the way to the top despite all the off-field drama. And so it's good to see him there. Now, I'm going to be honest. My team included, the Panthers. Your team, I'm not sure. We don't know what's going to go on with Robert Saleh. But for right now, these coaches' firings. Now, we already kind of knew the writing was on the wall with Ron Rivera. There were coaches, Staley, Wright had already left out before, but we were not expecting at the end, at 5 minutes to yesterday morning, Arthur Smith of the Atlanta Falcons was terminated just after he got back from New Orleans, and that beat down. And then to add insult to injury, in a trick play, Jameis Winston ran another touchdown during victory formation just because they wanted their linebacker, I think it was, to get his first touchdown. And Arthur was livid. Now, we didn't know that was going to be the last we saw him. I've never seen anything like that, CJ. Someone does victory formation and goes for another touchdown as if the points were already not on the board.
Well, I got to say one thing. In regards to that actually does kind of bring up something a little bit there. Kind of brings up shades of Greg Schiano, right? When Greg Schiano was coaching, when he was at Rutgers, his defensive players tried to jump over when their opponent was in victory formation, and one of their defensive players jumped over to try to cause a turnover because he was trying to see if they could still have one last gasp at the game. Now, to me, I just think that this is just inexcusable, because you're basically, if you're going out there in victory formation and the defense sees that you're in victory formation, it's more like a concession. It's just like, look, you guys beat us. There's a minute, 10 seconds on the clock.
We're conceding. We give it to
you. Can we just get this over with so I can go take a shower and get out of these clothes? But for me, if this was the case that that the entire team was so adamant about wanting to get their player that touchdown so they could get whatever bonus was coming to them with this touchdown, I just think personally that you should have came out, should have said something to the head coach. You should have said, look, we roll out an I formation and say, you know what? Stop us.
Well, they said they did, and Allen told them not to go for it, and they defied the head coach's, instructions, and they went for it. And I feel like there's a deep-rooted rivalry with those two teams anyway. They hate each other, literally. Like, you know how people say, okay, figuratively speaking? No, I mean literally, they hate each other. It's way back. It goes
it's like Yankees, Red Sox. Yeah.
Yep,
it's like White Sox, Cubs. I mean,
yes.
And
then Atlanta had to be and then Atlanta had to be a refuge city for New Orleans during Katrina. So Atlanta was a refuge city as well as Houston. But, of course, the mayor is showing brotherly love or whatever, sisterly love. I think it was Shirley Franklin back then, if I'm not mistaken, with the mayor. But at the same time, it's like now, we're going to offer refuge, but you guys go back when everything is set up for you guys to go back. We don't want you in the city. And then you hear rappers like T.I. talking about, how the murders have increased because these folks from New Orleans have moved here. So they are like haters on and off the field. Like the fans are horrible. So you take that and you add that into the equation of, okay, we're already getting beat like 40 points. We're already getting beat like 41 points. And I'm going to try to put up a 50 burger on y'all, like all but. And Arthur Smith was livid. Now, of course, in his own defense, he has the right to be livid about that. In fact, when the coaches went to meet me at field, he refused the handshake. He literally did not even want to shake his hand.
Mhm.
And the Saints,
He looked like he wanted to punch him in the face.
He did. Then Allen went to the post conference. The first thing he says, I apologize. He has every right to be mad, basically. But you don't have control of your team. And I guess Jameis Winston, in true rogue style that he has been, just doesn't care. So there's that. But Arthur Smith is out of a job. Ron Rivera, whose birthday was on Sunday, I'm so glad they let him graciously bow out on Monday after his birthday was over with. Bill Belichick is still hanging in there saying, it's too early to make a determination. But I'm like,
He's out.
You've got to.
I think that now, sorry to interrupt you, but I just got a thought. I think that Belichick is out. I just think, I know that he's still technically under contract with the Patriots. Robert Kraft has said that he wanted to have a conversation with Bill, and they were either going to discuss compensation or trade or whatever. But now, since Tennessee has fired Mike Vrabel,
that was
Mike Vrabel, okay, the expatriate, I 100% could see Belichick going, I'm out, and Mike Vrabel going to New England and taking over that club. It would make sense. It seems too obvious, but right now it just looks like with this, it just happened too quickly, so to speak. And for me, like, I was actually shocked that Mike Vrabel got fired because you know what? Since the time that he's been in there with Tennessee, he's done an incredible job in there. I mean, and plus on top of it, he's had to overcome tremendous injuries, not just offensively, but defensively with Derrick Henry. He's dealt with quarterback issues with first Tannehill sucks, then Tannehill's great. Then he's got no backup quarterback and he's got to go sign a bum under the bridge to play quarterback. So, I mean, there's so many different factors that I felt like Vrabel was able to navigate. And I always admired him because me as a Jets fan, I'm looking at that and I'm like, why the hell can't we get a coach like that? Mm-hmm. But with him, he made it look easy. And he was the kind of coach that he had a system. He had a particular system. He had a standard that he wanted everybody to play to. And everybody bought into the message.
And you brought up a good point. This is like something I've always wondered about. How do you fire a coach when they don't have the tools they need to win? When they're having quarterback issues, when they're plagued by injuries? How do you expect a coach to have a winning season when he is losing due to no fault of his own? That really does something to me. Granted, the Panthers should not have ever brought Frank Wright in. He was already fired from Indianapolis, had already showed who he had. They may as well have hired Jeff Saturday. I mean, they didn't even really try to go out and get us anybody. To that point, now David Tepper has hired a hiring firm that will go out and professionally interview these candidates. We also lost the GM. Good luck with that. We lost the GM as well. So once again, Carolina will be in a rebuilding mode for like the 10th season because we are either out of a coach, a quarterback, or a general manager, or an owner. Like, we've had all of those issues within the last 5 seasons at a minimum. And you cannot expect your team to get better when there's a coaching carousel. You cannot expect your team to get better when there's a quarterback carousel. Texans removed from that. They were the lucky draw. D'Amico Ryans and CJ have done an amazing job in Texas. And it's not because their entire division was so bad, because before Trevor Lawrence got injured, the Jaguars looked like a solid contender for the South, as well as, let's not forget about Miami, who everyone was sure those Fins were going to swim up the East Coast and go on through everybody, including Baltimore. And those Fins are now drowning. They're on someone's dinner plate. And so, like, you look at things like that and you're like, wait a minute. The Texans with a first-year quarterback who was at the same draft that Bryce Young was at, and their first-year head coach who they brought in February of 2023. And you look and you're like, man, the Texans, and I mean, post J.J. Watt.
Yeah, it's with the Texans. Now, I don't follow the Texans, but I have seen a lot of the stuff that they have done. They have a couple of players which are ex-Florida Gators, and I'm a Florida Gators fan. Granted, mainly because of the company I keep, but whatever. And also, of course, because my alma mater doesn't have a football team, but I digress. It's with them. Nick Caserio took a lot of heat with the Deshaun Watson trade. Okay, he took a lot of heat.
Yes.
But if you think about it now, that Deshaun Watson trade and everything he got from that deal, okay, and the struggle that they went through for the year and a half, 2 years after all of that, now is reaping benefits. Because CJ Stroud, nobody knew. I mean, I didn't know who the hell CJ Stroud was until he started playing really well. I'm just like, oh, okay, here's another quarterback for the Texans. And, because the Texans have had so many different quarterbacks. And then really, if you think, the last time that the Texans actually had consistency at head coach was when Gary Kubiak was coaching them.
That's a long, yeah.
Right.
I forgot.
And so, and I mean, for me, I remember that, and I remember the program that Gary Kubiak put together. And then, of course, there was Bill O'Brien, and then he caught lightning in a bottle, and he ended up getting to, he ended up getting deep into the playoffs, and it was like okay, but then their talent started dropping off. You had players leaving, and now all of a sudden they made a few deals, and now they've got a pretty solid young core. They got a good quarterback in CJ Stroud, who's proven that he can play at the NFL level at a high level. Okay, I mean, I'm not going to call him elite, but I am going to say that he is playing at a high level. I don't know if he qualifies just yet for elite. Let him do what he's doing right now. 2 years in a row, 3 years in a row, 4 years in a row, then we can start having the conversation about whether or not we can mention CJ Stroud in the elite quarterback category. But the Texans basically they paid their dues, they stayed the course, they had a plan, and now they're reaping the benefits of everything that they're doing. And the funny thing is, their blueprint is not much different than Cincinnati, than Kansas City, pre Patrick Mahomes. Okay. Let's see, who else? John Harbaugh in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
NFL teams are successful when they have a structure and hierarchy in place. And Cleveland for a long time, a dumpster fire. The New York Jets are still a dumpster fire. Okay, the Jaguars before Doug Peterson got there were a dumpster fire. Okay, even with Trevor Lawrence. Okay, the Buccaneers for a little while before Bruce Arians, and now even before before Tom Brady, before Bruce Arians, the Buccaneers were floundering. So, again, when you go and take a look at NFL teams right now, when you have a structure in place, that's when you start to see good things happen for the organization. And for them, that's exactly what they want. But you still have other organizations that still want to reinvent the wheel, like the Carolina Panthers. And my heart goes out to you with the Carolina Panthers and everything that is going on in that organization. Because, Sonia, if you've ever listened to any of my shows of Mission Briefs, you know that I have torn the New York Jets, a new one, up one side and down the other.
Yes.
And
I was like, he's long suffering. I was like, oh my gosh, you've been long suffering.
So believe me when I tell you, because I know that we kind of got to touch on it a little bit a couple of shows ago when we were doing the Wednesday night show with Mac Tags and company. Yeah, and by the way, shameless plug, we're back on tomorrow night at 6 p.m. So make sure you're there. We touched on it a little bit, and when you and I really started to pick at it a little bit, then they had to rein us in, and we really didn't get the opportunity to really go into it the way we would have liked. So one of the points that I had wanted to make, and I saved this at the back of my head, was when you have an owner who does not understand the game of football, where that franchise is just there. It's something for them to play with. Okay? They look at it as a business. Mm-hmm. And for me, I will use that in duality with the New York Jets, right? Woody Johnson, owner of Johnson & Johnson. Okay? Johnson & Johnson is good for medical supplies. They make baby bottles. They make baby oil, baby shampoo. The whole line. The list goes on and on and on. Concentrate on that and hire a football person who knows what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And then as an owner, shut your mouth, okay? Don't go to pro games and fall in love with one player because of a cross-body throw, and now all of a sudden he becomes the second pick in the NFL draft. I'm not going to name any names. I think I've given enough hints.
Right.
But, now when you as an owner want to say, I want that guy, or I want this guy, or I want the other guy, your football people have to be there to say, no, because if you bring this person in, you're going to destroy what we've already built. You can't put a round peg in a square hole. It's not going to work. And
you're right. I'm going to pause you right there real quick, CJ. Hold that thought, because we got some comments in here. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We got a lot of comments in here. I've missed the earlier ones, so I've tried to greet, but in relation to what you're talking about now, hello to Jeffrey and Linda, of course. Linda, our producer here at NESSP. She and Mac do an amazing job. I'm so grateful for this platform. Jeffrey,
we love you.
We do. Jeffrey, who's a Panthers fan, is greeting us a happy new year. But we have Karen Belk, who is talking solidly about what we're talking about right now. She's saying CJ has really improved, didn't play so well against Georgia in college, but as a Panthers fan, she's tying that in to basically say, we are hanging in there with the Panthers despite it all. Our players are good guys, and some of the coaches have done well despite it all. But I'm going to tie that into what you're saying, CJ. And Karen, thanks for your comment. Keep the comments going, folks. Everyone is tuning in. I see the views. Let us know who you got, who you were going for last night in the Michigan-Washington game, what your thoughts are of that. Also, let us know who your team is, if you have a team, for this week's upcoming games, and what you thought of this past week's games and the refereeing situation. And, we got to talk about it, CJ. It was breaking news right before we got on. I forgot to tell you, the Russell Wilson drama continues. He's now not supposedly going to be disposed of in March. It's up in the air. So now they don't know if he's in fact going to remain with the franchise. Their season's over, but now you're saying you don't know. So we'll get into that if we can. If not, I'll have to deal with that on tomorrow when I'm on here at 9 p.m. Keith Angle will be joining me tomorrow night as a special guest. I'm so excited. I'm so blessed to have CJ start me off with the host, Mac led it all in stride last week and got me where I need to be, and just surrounded by great support and a great team, great family. So go ahead, CJ. I just wanted to address that comment because I realized they were getting back and I didn't see them. So Linda's told me, make sure you look at the comments and engage, because that's what keeps us going. The owner, being a business owner, you remember I was telling you guys on the show we did that I feel like he's like someone with a shiny new toy. And once you get tired of the toy, it's like Christmas. You're just looking to see what else there is.
Yeah, it's the Russell Wilson saga. I really think that, honestly, when Sean Payton took over that team, I think that what he should have done is basically gut it. I want to start with a clean slate. I want to start with a clean book. I want my guys that are going to buy into my system. I don't care about the superstar quarterback. I don't care about the contract. You guys gave him the quarterback, but you guys gave him the contract before I got here, and that's not my problem. He's not my guy. And Sean Payton has made it clear on several different instances, subtly, during the course of this season, that Russell Wilson is not his quarterback. That Russell Wilson...
And he didn't try to hide it either.
No, he did not. And you know what? If I'm Russell Wilson, I would be like, you know what? I know you guys don't want me here. I know you do things differently from the way I do. Why don't we do us both a favor? Trade me. Trade me.
And so they had a half-hour meeting. Looks like this just happened this afternoon. That Sean Payton, according to him now, they are still mulling the final decision of his future. Basically, they had this meeting for half an hour, and now he himself is saying he doesn't know. So he's the one that started this thing, all because Russell didn't want to sign his injury clause. Sean Payton is saying there's still a chance Russell Wilson could return to the Broncos, even though he was benched. And in fact, ESPN is saying as of 2 hours ago that the Broncos are open to Russell Wilson's return, but say no call has been made. So this is solid that that he's not necessarily out. So it's the drama in Denver continues. Clicks and likes, folks. Clicks and likes. That's all they do is keep the news going for clicks and likes, trying to stay relevant. So let's shift gears a little bit. We talked about the coaching fiasco. We only have about another 28 minutes to even chat. This is going so well, CJ. I'm going to have you on here again. Just absolutely delighted.
Let me
a lot
know.
of knowledge. I got you. Anytime. Like, you can come on back next week if you want.
Hell yeah.
I'll definitely let you know. Definitely enjoy talking football and things like that. These matchups is coming into the playoffs. Now, we're going to run through, in case you've been, unless you've been living under a rock, you pretty much know who the AFC playoff picture is, and you know the NFC playoff picture is. So it's no need us even going through the wins and losses last week, except for, true to form, now some teams bench their starters, let's be clear. And even with Baltimore benching their starters, the Steelers still barely got in there against them. Now, the wild card weekend is coming up. Right now, we have the Texans have the AFC South clinched. The Steelers clinched a playoff berth, and the Bills also clinched a playoff berth, but the Jaguars were eliminated. Now, the Bills closed out the season by beating the Dolphins to win the AFC East, and the Bills are now the fourth team in NFL history to win a division after being down at least 3 games in the standings with 5 or fewer games left on the schedule. That means they pulled all the way up. Now, in the NFC, the Packers clinched the final spot with the 17-9 win over the Bears. I was shocked about that. The Rams also picked up a 21-20 win over the 49ers to claim that 6th seed in the NFC. But, you know, the 49ers didn't care. They had already clinched and already got that first week bye. And the victory created a ripple effect now that will have Los Angeles facing Jared Goff and the Lions in the wild card. So Jared goes back home and faces former teammates. Excuse me. It is that. And the gunslinger, goes back home as well. What are your thoughts?
Well, really quick before I actually talk about that, there were teams at the beginning of the season that everybody was calling for their head coaches' heads that are now going to be playing playoff games this upcoming weekend. Sean McVay and Mike Tomlin. Okay.
Yes, Mike always makes it. Mike always makes it. 13 winning seasons.
Mike Tomlin is like he should just change his name to the thing that just won't go away. but given where he's at, the Pittsburgh Steelers, a tremendous franchise that have a storied history of winning. Again, go back to my structure comment. Okay, teams like Pittsburgh, Baltimore, now Kansas City, now San Francisco. The blueprints for other teams to follow in order to build winning franchises. 2 words I always say on my show, Sonia: competitive sustainability. Okay? Because teams don't want to be just relevant this year. They want to be relevant for the next 5 years. And you always, as a GM and even as a head coach, regardless where you finish, even if you're lucky enough to hoist Lombardi, okay, that next day, after the hangover wears off and you're looking at the books, then you already know that 31 other teams now have a head start on you. That's so right. Now you have to play catch up as far as improving your roster. Okay? So that being said, when you go and take a look at the Rams were a team that at the beginning of the year, everyone saw them taking a nosedive.
Yep, okay? I did. I was shocked. Okay. People kept saying, watch out for the
here we are talking about Sean McVay again. Matthew Stafford going back to Detroit. Okay. Jared Goff facing his old team. Okay. This game is going to be so fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. From a football fan's perspective, even if you don't have a dog in the fight, I promise you this is going to be must-watch TV. And the reason being is because, first of all, Dan Campbell is an absolute beast. I love him.
Yes, he is. All right? I love him. I love him too.
I love his passion. I love his fire. I love his energy. And I tell you something, he is just one of those guys that just takes nothing from no one. And you have players around him that have rallied to that. Like he's instilled that and permeated it through the locker room. So, and everybody on there, they are hungry. They want so badly to give the city of Detroit a winning team. They've done that this year. Now, ride it as far as it'll go.
Because 30 years already out. And they want it bad. They want it bad. Their passion matches it, and Dan rides for his team. You can tell he truly loves his team and treats them like family.
Mm-hmm. And on top of it, you see the way that they play. Now, I am going to say the Lions at some point during the course of the season have looked a little schizophrenic. Yeah, they've got a couple of issues on defense. They are susceptible to the big play. They are a little bit soft over the middle, okay? And sometimes they have difficulty stopping the run. But the one thing that Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions do not want to get into is a track meet. However, looking at the LA Rams side, Stafford is going to do Stafford like he always does, okay? You got Cooper Kupp, you got Puka Nacua. That dude is just absolutely awesome. Okay, you got Higbee, their tight end. Mm-hmm. Their offense, for whatever reason, just when you think you have them on their back, they got you right where they want you. Mm-hmm. So with them, they're just another giant question mark because you have a Rams team that could be dominant and they can put up points at will and their defense can shut people down, but you also have that defense where you're giving up 30 points a game. You're giving up 35 points a game. Okay, so both of these teams, because of how fascinating they are, which ones are going to show up? Are we going to get a track meet?
Yeah.
Or are we looking at maybe a 14-10 game where the defenses are really going to be clamping down? So again, this matchup is, to me, the most fascinating one that's coming up.
It's the same for me too. I guess it's because I'm kind of like, I'm a puppy for a good storyline. And so it's like, man, he's going home. He's familiar with this field. He's familiar with the fans. And it's kind of like if you are so you know how you have players you like from different teams, but you have your team that you support. So for people who were Matt Stafford fans, but he's moved on and now they're supporting Detroit, like they have to feel like either way on that one, they win. If they're a Matt Stafford fan and say Matt Stafford comes in there and gets it done and mutes those Lions roar, do you say, okay, I'm still a winner because at the end of the day, this is Matt Stafford and he's moving on? But let's be clear, I don't see the Rams going all the way. I do not see that at all. I don't see them going. But in this instance, like you said, the Lions have shown issues. Look at the Cowboys game.
Blowing leads. And then having to fight back again.
I'm going to be honest with you, though. This may be the Cowboys' year. Cowboys fans have been calling it for a while. I know we always hear them say this is our year. But I'm going to
know what that star on the side of the helmet is? It's not a logo, it's a rating.
It's their rating. But I will say this. If this is not Dallas's year, then win, because they've looked good. Dak has been putting up yards. Their offense has been high-powered. The defense has been where they need to be. And like it or not, Dallas is coming. The only time they looked as if they were having an issue. Now let's roll it back in history. 2021, Dallas 12-5, lost to the 49ers. 2022, Dallas 12-5, lost to the 49ers. Here we are, 2023 season, they're 12-5 again. What are you going to do? If not now, when? Because Cowboys fans, and my sister is one of them, and I have a lot of Cowboy fans in my family. My dad was one, God rest his soul, because the Panthers didn't come till I got in college anyway. So a lot of them still roll with those teams. But God forbid they lose, then Cowboys fans are off with your head for Dak because they feel like he is all over the place, and sometimes you cannot count on him. It's unpredictable. I couldn't think of the word. But for lack of a better thing, if not now, then when? Then when?
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys are probably, again, like they're one of the more interesting teams in the NFL or actually in the NFC to take a look at through the playoffs. And, it's going to be interesting how deep they can go because, like you said, they've gotten to a certain point. They couldn't get past the 49ers. Now,
tonight,
for me, if the Cowboys do not make the NFC Championship game this year and do not find a way to win, okay, and make a Super Bowl appearance, you have to consider this season a failure. You have to consider it a failure. And then seriously, as much as Cowboy fans want to go and they want to take a look at Dak Prescott, they want to take a look at CeeDee Lamb, they want to start taking a look at the defense, they want to start taking a look at coaches. Is McCarthy the problem? And so on and so forth. I could name you right now before anybody wants to start saying Mike McCarthy should be fired and this, that, and the third, blah, 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 blah. How many teams are in the playoff? 16? 12? What is it?
Well, there's 4. There's 7 on each side. 14, I think.
Yeah, so 14. Okay. We have 32 teams in the NFL. There are 16 other teams that would love to swap places with the Dallas Cowboys right now and have and be preparing for a playoff game. So before Cowboys fans want to start talking about McCarthy sucks, he's got to go, Dak's got to go, blah, blah, blah. Hold the phone. Take it from a fan whose team has not made it to the Super Bowl since 1968.
Oof.
Stop.
Oof.
Just stop.
Wasn't even here.
Okay? I don't want to hear you whining. I don't want to hear you complaining. I don't want to hear you pissing and moaning. Stop. Because year after year, you guys have competitive ability. And you know who to thank for that? Jerry Jones and his staff. So as much as you guys want to yell at Dak Prescott, y'all want to yell at Mike McCarthy. Okay, y'all chased Ezekiel Elliott out of town.
Got him up out of there. And Dak's doing better without him, actually.
Right. So I do agree with the sense of urgency that as far as Dak and his legacy, yeah, you need to make a Super Bowl appearance. And anything less than a Super Bowl appearance, the season could be considered a failure. Now, again, that's I don't root for the Dallas Cowboys. I don't have a dog in this fight. Okay, I would love for the New York Jets to swap places with the Dallas Cowboys right now, just for opportunity to get into the dance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
the Man Cave came on. Thanks for that, CJ. Very passionate appeal out to the Cowboys fans, because you could be like myself or CJ right now with Panthers and Jets sitting at home, and the Jets has to be painstaking because it was so hopeful when Aaron Rodgers was there. They were on Hard Knocks. I was like, this is going to be their year. And then the first possession of the game, it is over. And even Zach looked good for a while with you guys at Wilson, and then it was same old Zach. It looked like he was like, well, we need some fire under us to play. But then it was same old that. He looked good for 2 games.
He looked okay. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Well, he passed.
Kansas City game in a loss. Okay, and in the second half of the Texans game, where he the one brain cell that he's got left actually started firing. Okay. Please, I don't want to ruin the rest of your show talking about the Jets and Zach Wilson, please.
You saw how quick I addressed the Panthers and kept it moving. It's like I had to put a plug in it, but I'm just gonna keep it moving. Pretty soon, I'm probably not gonna sound like a Panthers fan because I'll barely talk about them. But the Man Cave came on. I don't know if you can see the comments or not, CJ, but you can.
Yep, everyone was shocked that the Rams were sneaky good. So the Packers will give the Cowboys some trouble, I believe.
Yes, and then Mike talked about the Gilmore injury. Like, we got to figure out what's going on with him. I think he is out because the secondary is weak. Talking about Dallas still.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's this time of year, and we talked about injuries plaguing, but some people have been playing injured all year long. Who do you see? We've got about 10 minutes left. Let's talk about playoff positioning right now. The first round's coming up on this weekend. What do you think? What are your thoughts on this first round of games we have coming up on Saturday?
Well, should be interesting. Interesting. It's actually a great question because I actually never really, when you don't have a dog in the fight, you really don't think about it.
You don't.
You just want to, like, I guess, like, when you don't have a dog in the fight from a fan's perspective, you can actually just sit back and actually just watch it and not really, like, actually enjoy good football.
Yes.
As opposed to having to sit there and bite your nails and throw stuff at the TV and throw stuff all over around because, your team is not doing well. But as far as the first round of the playoffs are concerned, I could see the Bills advancing. I definitely, besides the Bills, I don't know. I think that you could make a case for everyone in the first round why they should win that game in advance. The only team that I can't make a case for is Miami. And it's not because I hate them. It's not because they're in the AFC East. It's not because they're one of our bitter rivals or whatever. The issue that I've had with the Miami Dolphins this year is they struggle against good teams. You saw it firsthand against the Buffalo Bills.
Yes.
That was a game in which they came out firing. They had the Bills on their heels, but the Bills were very quick to answer them. And then it just seemed like in the second half that Miami just started going into panic mode. And then it was Tua trying to force every throw to Tyreek Hill. Yep. And then if it wasn't him, then they were going after A-Chain.
A-Chain, yeah.
And they were trying to go after Mostert. You know, and it was like we saw Tua in different games, the way that he had played, be able to spread the ball around. Yeah. And when you're able to spread the ball around to your weapons and you get good ball distribution, you keep the defense on their heels because they don't know who to cover. Sure, you could say, well, there's no Jalen Waddle, and they lost because there's no Jalen Waddle. Look, I don't want to hear the
Okay, guys, I think I lost CJ for just a little bit, but we're talking about that Chiefs and Dolphins game now. I'm going to fill in until we get him back. Thanks, y'all, for tuning in with us tonight. So the Dolphins, as you know, they have been beat up, especially after that matchup with Baltimore. They did not hold back. They were absolutely relentless. I'm going to put CJ back here in the backstage for just a moment. Until I can see him get himself back here. So CJ, whenever you're ready, just wave your hand. I'll bring you back on. But the Ravens absolutely put a molly whopping. Y'all know that's been my word all season on the Dolphins. And so they are visibly shaken going into this playoff contention that's coming up on this weekend. They will be playing at 8:15 Saturday night. And so that game is not going to disappoint. Now, also at the 4:30 game, we got the Browns and Texans. Yes, the Browns have stayed in, and it is going to be Joe Flacco versus CJ Stroud. So vet versus rookie. You can watch that on NBC and Fubo, at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. And that Chiefs and Dolphins game is going to be on Peacock Saturday at 8:15. And then Sunday, we're going to start looking at other playoff contentions. The Steelers and the Bills, the number 7 Steelers, Mike Tomlin at the number 2 Bills at 1 p.m. That is going to be seen on CBS and Paramount Plus. Now, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. The Bills have looked up and down the entire season. And if anyone will pull off the upset, it would be Mike Tomlin and his Steelers. Now, the NFC wildcard matchup also resumes on Sunday at 4:30 p.m. We have the Packers at the Dallas Cowboys. Packers ranked number 7 and Cowboys ranked number 2. 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday, January 14th, only on Fox and Fubo as well. And then we have that game that CJ and I spoke about earlier in the show tonight, the number 6 Rams facing the number 3 Lions. Matt Stafford, the gunslinger, goes home to face his former team, and Jared Goff gets a chance to see just what's going down as well. Sunday at 8:15 p.m. That's the Sunday night game on NBC and Fubo. And then on Monday night, we have the 8:15 game, Eagles and Buccaneers. That's going to be the NFC South versus the NFC East. The number 5 Eagles. Can you guys believe it? The Eagles are number 5. They started out so high. The number 4 Buccaneers, ESPN, ABC, and Fubo is how you can watch that on Monday night. Guys, this season has been a wildfire, a whirlwind. Coaches still on the chopping block, even after Black Monday has come and gone. As we see, Mike Vrabel left today, let go suddenly. Now, CJ mentioned it earlier. Mike Vrabel, former New England Patriot. Bill Belichick hanging on to his job by a string at the moment, has not had an official word as to whether or not he will be gone from New England. With that Jets lost this past matchup. He became the losingest coach to tie as well, just like he's the winningest coach as well in the league's history. But Belichick has not been let go. Don't be surprised if he is told to switch teams or to retire, because they're going to let him down gently with him having all those rings. But they may be seeking to hire Mike Vrabel and bring him up to New England. Arthur Smith, the Atlanta Falcons, 5 minutes into yesterday, just returning from their beatdown from the New Orleans Saints. Arthur Smith of the Atlanta Falcons was let go. The Falcons had 3 seasons in a row where they had no games that they scored over 30 points by the offense. Additionally, this was their 3rd season in a row that they were 7-10 leading into the playoffs. So once again, 3 seasons in, Arthur Smith is out. That quarterback situation down there is still up for grabs. Desmond Ridder is definitely not it. Taylor Heineke, former Carolina Panther, former Washington Commander, is definitely not it as well. So they have a quarterback and a coaching carousel. The Carolina Panthers have a list of 9 potential head coaches that they are interviewing. No, Harbaugh is not on that list, guys, but they have a plethora of coaches that they are going to be interviewing, multiple offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators for their head coaching position, including Dan Quinn, present defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, Mr. Monk. They have the Ravens offensive coordinator, the Bengals offensive coordinator, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive coordinator, and on and on and on and on they go. Yes, hi, Anissa. My sister Ron Rivera was released on yesterday from the Washington Commanders after a valiant fight. And I was saying, I'm glad they did not get rid of him on Sunday, which was his birthday. And so Ron has been sent fishing as well, Riverboat Ron, that is. But we wish him the best. One of my favorite coaches. I mean, I'm partial, guys. What can I say? But anyway, the Panthers also released their general manager. So we are now looking for a general manager. And once again, the Panthers, if you didn't hear me say this when I first jumped on, are in another rebuild season. But hey, what the hey? We've already given the number 1 pick to Chicago for the draft next year. So we're out of it anyway. But anyway, guys, I appreciate all of you all chiming in tonight, coming on, supporting me. Please follow me on all social media platforms. Subscribe on YouTube so you can get the notification when this page goes live. And don't forget, I'm doing all things sports, y'all. So even though we got a lot of news talking about from the NFL and the college world right now with this season finale and playoff contentions for the NFL and wrapping up the college football championship for the Michigan-Washington game with Michigan solidifying the win, please follow me because I'm going to be talking all sports all the time. And tomorrow night, I'll be back on here at 9 p.m. sharp with Keith Angle, Bostonian, New England Patriot fan. He's going to be on here with me. You're going to love it. Do not miss it. Set your timers right now to join me tomorrow night at 9. And CJ's jumping back on just in time for me to let him know that I appreciate him and that we've got to wrap up for now. CJ, any closing thoughts so you can tell us how to tune into your show? And thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Again, I apologize. We had a power outage over here. We were where I'm at in Central Florida, we are currently under a tornado watch. So
please be safe down there. A lot of torrential weather through the southeast and up the eastern seaboard. So everyone is dodging snow or severe weather at the time. So you be safe down there, CJ, and tell us how to get your channel real quick.
You bet. On Saturday nights from 8 to 8:30, Weapon Top Mission Briefs. You can catch us on Roku. Any way you follow any SSP, you can catch my show.
All right. That's all the time we have for now, everyone. Have a great night. Everyone be safe. And thanks for joining us, everyone. We really appreciate you. And I'll see you guys on tomorrow night when I'm back on here once again.
This is Northeast Streaming Sports.